Like, I taught myself how to code when I was 13 and then became a model. And next minute, Kate Moss walks in. Half of the audience is men and they go to listen to the females, and I love that.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Noongar Wadandi Mort. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Scratch the surface and everyone has a story. Welcome, Kaya, to the Wisdom of Women.
From international model to creative powerhouse programmer, producer in the digital world.
Welcome, Caitlin Lomax. Now, talk about extremes. Do you think back on your life and think, this is just crazy?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if I look back even 10 years, what I was doing is the complete opposite. But I don't know, it's kind of cool because it's full circle, I guess. Like, I taught myself how to code when I was 13 and then became a model.
See, I find that quite interesting because at 13, as a young lady, like, you wrote your own, you did your own coding and wrote your own games. So how did that come about? Is that something that you were always interested in?
I was really addicted to The Sims, and I taught myself.
Awesome.
Oh my god, I love Sims.
It's so good. Back in the day of Sims 1, you used to actually be able to, I'm sure you still can now, but I haven't played it as much lately. You used to be able to get into, like, all the actual code and the
cheat codes and stuff.
It wasn't just cheat codes. I used to write all my own interactions, and I took the pixelated things off the naked people and stuff like that. That wasn't the bit that Dad was inspired by, but
Oh, sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Dad saw me doing that, and, like, I'm so thankful he did this, but he took me to, I think it was Dimmicks at the time or something, down on Victoria Street, and we ordered a game programming for teens book, and then took, like, 6 weeks to get here because it was like that back in the day. And as soon as I got it, I just locked myself in the bedroom and taught myself how to code.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
How good to have parents too that are supportive of that.
It makes such a difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Was he able to offer any advice or help though? Is he like most parents, like going, sorry, got no idea?
Dad was actually pretty good because he, for a bit there, he was making, like, websites as well as videos. So I learned how to code a bit through watching Dad make websites. He taught me a bit. There was a HTML coding book in there as well at some point, but I didn't like that one as much. I still don't like web development that much. But I think because I had that little bit of knowledge, that's when I was like, I can totally, like, hack this game. And then so Dad actually helped a little bit.
Oh, good.
So what was the game you created?
It was called Mr. Wormy.
Mr. Wormy.
Yeah, I thought it was really cute. It was pretty much like a rip-off of Space Invaders, but instead of a spaceship, you're a worm and you shot leaves at different bugs.
That's so adorable.
It is. Have you still got it? Can you still?
Nah, I have no idea where it is. I've actually considered remaking it though. Like, now I know how to make games better. Like,
I would play it.
Mr. Wormy's
you
got
would.
a
remake it
ring to
It's
it.
good.
Mr. Wormy. I could play Mr. Wormy.
Right, bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Love you.
Yay. Oh, that's so cool.
So you're a teenager, you've made your own game, and you get a little bit older, and then life kind of takes a complete different turn. What happened?
So my computer teacher at the time gave us a project to I understand why they were a little frustrated, but the project was to, oh my god, I'm going to show my age. Do you guys remember Macromedia Fireworks?
Yes.
Yeah.
I learnt that, yes.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh no. So it was kind of like Photoshop before Photoshop. And the assessment was like, do an image in Fireworks. But I was like, no, I'm going to do all of the images in my game in Fireworks. So that was how I gave her the assignment. They weren't that stoked, and didn't believe I did it, so Dad had to come in and tell her, like, yeah, no, she doesn't actually have any friends. So I had
The life of a computer nerd.
pretty much, yeah, it's great. Now I have lots of friends, but they're all nerds
They're
as
the same-
well. I've
same
found my
people,
people. Yeah.
One of them's in the shed with me most days, thinking away. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, if people saw the people I hung out with 10 years ago, it's like, who are
Do
going
now.
into the maker crew, like, they'd be like, what? Like,
That's
no,
so cool.
this is awesome. But yeah, because the teacher didn't believe it was my work, and they didn't really have any way to send me to, like, learn more, and nothing in Bunbury. I just didn't touch it again. I didn't touch it again until I was 21.
How sad is that through lack of opportunity, space, and understanding, it just, a love that you had to...
Had to be paused for a little bit.
Yeah. I could be like Steve Jobs by now
You
if they had
could.
to, like, massage that skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You lived in LA
Okay.
or San Francisco or somewhere.
It would have been so
So
good.
how did you go from that to your modelling career? Because what a career. It was pretty amazing. And
Wow.
very, very quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, I can't actually pinpoint the moment that I decided to do that, but my granny got me into it. Like, my granny enrolled me in the deportment classes. and
Okay. And then they went, ooh.
Yeah, then even that though, like, I didn't really grasp the situation that I was in most of the time. The, like, first graduation I had, I remember going back the year after, and all these girls were like, oh, blah, 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 I got a business card, and I was like, oh, I got one of them, what does that mean? It was like, oh, you got scouted? And I was like, oh, I should probably call them. Like, I just didn't know what any of it was.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty random.
It's good though, because a lot of, having worked in this industry too,
Yeah.
a lot of kids are desperate for that card or desperate for that call.
Yeah,
And there's Caitlin.
just like,
So
low-key
Da-da.
about
So
it.
you finally get back to someone or an agent or whatever, and then it went from there.
yeah, even that was kind of a slow process, because I was still living in Bunbury, finishing school, didn't end up finishing school, but at the time I was, and I got to Perth for, like, castings and stuff, and I did like one of the contracts in Tokyo when I was like 17. I got sent home after 2 weeks because I didn't book enough work, and because I was too big, and, like, that does things to you as a 17-year-old.
big.
Hang on, let's go
Yeah.
back to that.
You were too
big.
Yeah.
So it begins, the pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I got really lucky though. At the very end, I should have already flown home, but they didn't book a flight until like a week after they had stopped my contract. So I was just like chilling in Japan. It was actually really cool because one of the Sims expansion packs had come out in that time, so I went and got that in Japan, and that was my thing. Yeah. You can see a trend here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I picked up a job. They were like, "Oh, we do this," and it was like being a like pretty bodyguard on this Japanese rock stars private jet while they did a press tour for their like reunion tour. So I ended up on like some rock stars private jet for a week traveling around Asia.
Get out of here.
It was pretty epic. It was like even that's just like, oh, that's right, that was me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was wild because this guy is like the Michael Jackson of Asia. Like, we would get out into the airport and there'd be women in full on like wedding gowns, like, marry me, marry me. It was
Do you remember who
crazy.
his name was?
His name was Yoshiki, and he was from X Japan, which is like a metal group.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And did they treat you well?
Um,
So you were kind of like a paid groupie?
No, we like literally like were dressed as bodyguards. Me and this other
you were-
girl. We had to like.
Oh, that is so
The
cute.
job was to like be
His bodyguards.
It was so funny though because we had like 3 giant dudes behind us who was
Oh, yeah.
clearly going to actually be
Yeah.
the ones to tackle you, but we felt really
That's
cool with our
fabulous.
What was your uniform? Your bodyguard uniform?
Just a suit?
Yeah, we're dressed in like full suits and stuff.
No.
We just had like really cool
You
hair
look
and
so
makeup.
cool.
It was full on like power suit. Like, I got the power
Yeah.
suit then. I was like, yeah.
That's
This is cool.
really random and excellent.
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's so cool. It sounds super dodgy when I'm like, yeah, I was on a like Asian rock stars private jet for a week traveling around Asia at 17, but like that was the least weird part of that trip.
Yeah.
So
That is so good. What were some other weird parts of that trip?
just like I mean, that was the first time that I traveled overseas without my family and stuff, and you're thrown into like one of the model houses with like a bunch of girls. Most of them don't speak English very well, and this was like a time before everyone had data on their phones and stuff, so you really like
Couldn't do translator.
Yeah, couldn't do translator. I mean, I think they actually still do this, but we used to print out maps with directions on where to go for castings and just like stuff like that.
So you forget, don't you, that all this technology, that some things, they were done so differently.
So differently. It's
so young
wild.
to be so young.
I didn't even know you were allowed to leave the country when you're not 18 by yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, you can. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you have a parent with you?
No.
No, this is sounding really dodgy.
Yeah, that sounds dodgy when you put it like that.
Isn't it funny that we just accept that, like she's 17, she's an international model, this is what she has to do.
It's like if I left right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm 17 now. If I left by myself to Tokyo.
Yeah.
But did you think you needed anyone? You were like, I've got it, I'm fine, hey, I don't even need anybody, I'm cool.
Yes and no. It was like a weird thing of like I wanted someone there, but I knew I didn't need someone there.
Yeah, okay.
I think, I don't know, just because of how weird my life was, like, I realised if I get thrown into the deep end, I will survive, and that was
Yeah,
so,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you got thrown into Tokyo tomorrow, you'd probably find a way to survive. Also, everyone's really lovely in Tokyo, so...
No.
I have heard that.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's the only place I reckon you could drop your wallet and someone will pick it up and hand it into, like, the little police station on the corner. It's so nice.
That's saying something, isn't it? Yeah,
That's okay.
So you finish this ridiculous job, you bodyguard, to Asian rock star.
Yep.
What happens after that?
I don't really do a lot. I kind of sit on the books with my Perth agent, and then...
So you were back here, or were you in Sydney?
Back here.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like I really didn't want to finish school. Mum and Dad really wanted me to. I hated school. And then, the school stuff wasn't really working out. The modelling stuff was just like, an odd job here and there in Perth. And then an agency from Sydney contacted me and was like, saw you sitting on the books at your Perth one for a while. Would you come over to us? And it was kind of like if you can help me organise to move over there next year, let's go. And I did it. And I got really lucky again because I booked a really good job as soon as I walked off the plane pretty much. So again, just found my feet and was kind of lucky.
That's great. And you went to New Zealand for a while?
Yeah. Went to New Zealand. I was in Sydney for about a year and a half. I was actually going to quit modelling then. Like, I was living by the end of it with my grandparents on the Gold Coast. That was an interesting time. And then I got this call from this really hectic lady just abusing me for not getting digitals, and she's okay with me telling this story because she became one of my favorite people in the universe after this. I was just like, whoa, hold on, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you please explain it? And she was like, I've been trying to book you for a job in New Zealand. It's this much money. Your agent is saying that you're not doing these. I was like, give me an hour. And I remember being in the car with my granny and papa, and the DFO was there. I told him to pull in. I got my granny to take bikini digis in the change rooms of one of the surf stores, and I sent it over to this random lady, which actually, now I'm thinking about it, that also sounds really dodgy. Yeah, she booked me this job, and I went over to New Zealand, and I loved it. And she was like, what are you doing? You should be overseas and being amazing. And I was like, well, I was going to quit. And she was like, can you give me an opportunity to be your mother agency and I'll look after it and everything? And I did, and I put everything in her hands, and I moved over there for 6 months, and
that's when your career really took off, though, didn't it?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
when you went. Was that Red 32? Is that right?
Red 11.
Red 11.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you remember.
I remember.
She's
Oh
a
my God,
crosser.
you were doing so well. Of course I remember. Yeah.
was-
Your mum was like, and then, yeah.
So off you go overseas.
Yep.
Where was your first job overseas where, after, from New Zealand, where you've gone, oh my God.
So after New Zealand, wait, I have to remember which order this was.
So long
It's been
ago.
so long. No one ever asked me about it now. It's crazy. I went to Hong Kong first, then Singapore, and then when I was in Singapore was when I got told that I was on hold for Prada in Milan and Chanel in Paris, and I was like, and yeah, that's kind of when it kicked off.
Yeah. That's.
And there it began.
What was that?
And there it
Yeah.
began that period of time
Yeah.
where it all just...
Because you
just
had your
went like
21st in
crazy.
Paris, is that right?
Yeah, I had one in Paris and New York. Yeah, that is a really good
Sharp.
memory.
How do you know? Dean and Sharon, we have big chats about
Dan and
it.
Sharon, that's Caitlin's mum and dad.
Huge.
Yes.
I mean, and they are, like we're talking about supportive parents, they are huge supporters of their
Yeah.
kids. And like, you just won't, you want to know, they'll tell you. And it's amazing.
Yeah,
Because I remember your mum saying, we're going over. And they were over in Paris.
yeah,
I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
I mean, I would go to
so
Paris.
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
cool.
it's such a great
Shout out
success
to
story.
my parents; they're amazing.
They are amazing.
And it's such a great success story.
Yeah, it's really interesting though. Like, don't want to turn this too dark too quickly, but everyone always talks about like the really fabulous parts of it, and there is like such a dark, lonely side as well. Because like, we've gone from jumping from 13 to 17, but like I'm only 19 at this point still. I'm still pretty much a child, really. And all this stuff's happening. Like, no 19-year-old I know does their taxes from 4 different countries. So you like learn all these really weird skills, and you're just expected to be like an adult straight away. It's really weird.
Yeah, okay. And I imagine, let's go to the side as well, as far as body image and expectations for weight, skin, hair.
Yeah.
Like, how are you managing all that, the demands and pressure?
I don't think I was managing that well the whole time. It is really interesting. Like, I did kind of just get really unlucky with the agency in Japan. Every other agency I had were actually like, you're fine, don't lose any more weight.
Yeah.
So that was never an issue, but like my skin was always an issue. I still have bad skin. I'm having a good day today,
I
actually.
was just
but
going to say, you look gorgeous, so yeah.
I was like, yes, good day. But like that was always a problem. I had agents try to get me on like raw Accutane and stuff back then as well. And then even my hair, because they were dyeing it platinum blonde, and my eyebrows like bleaching them as well.
I
Like,
saw a photo of that.
it's so weird, right? I look like an alien. But like my eyebrows were falling out. So whenever I dyed them back to brown, like half of them would be missing.
Yeah, right.
And the bleach was killing my hair to the point where it was presented to me as an opportunity, but like they cut all my hair off into a pixie cut without kind of like prepping anything to like handle that situation. I actually made more money with the pixie cut, but I wasn't doing the cool jobs like Chanel and Prada. Sorry, I think I did one more Chanel show after the
Okay.
haircut.
Because they wanted the regular length so that they could style it how they wanted to all the time, or...
I think it was just that like I got known and put into like, there was a group of us blonde girls at the time that was like, if you can get them all in one show, like that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I wasn't part of that group anymore. So it's like,
Right, because of your hair.
yeah. It's so weird.
So almost on the whim of
Someone.
a designer as to how they want their whole image, their perception.
Well, it was like, I mean, so when I talk about it now, the opportunity did seem really good, but I didn't have the whole context around what was happening. So you have like your development boards at agencies, and then you have your main boards. And I was still on the development board, like the up and coming girls. And you kind of don't go to development unless one of the development agents within the agency want you. And the agent that wanted me was Kate Moss's agent, and she only represents 6 girls at one time. But the condition was I cut my hair. So it was kind of like, whoa, if she reps Kate Moss, she's going to do amazing things for me. Yeah, I'll cut my hair. And then she ended up being actually quite sick and took a bunch of time off, like just after I cut my hair. So there was like no, because you're essentially like, you are a marketing tool for other brands, but like you have your own brand yourself. So you need all of that publicity and hype around you to succeed as well. And none of that was prepared. It was just kind of like...
It's so hard. I mean, fashion's fickle, but modelling is just shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
so brutal.
So glamorous, but it is just not at all one bit. It's tough.
So your hair's all chopped off,
Yeah.
but the momentum then is lost from
Yeah.
that point because, of what happens with your agent and so forth.
Yeah. Like, I still get one decent show season in, but then, it just starts getting, like, harder. I hadn't totally, like, lost all the work. Yeah, I was still living in New York fine and all of that.
Yeah.
But just... I remember realizing when I got sent to Japan instead of doing a New York Fashion Week, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, this is where I don't bow out, but
You can make a decision now for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, I had a stalker. So the decision was made for me in the
What,
end.
in New York?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He stole my passport and held it ransom for my love.
Oh my God.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, and you didn't give him your love. I mean, how unusual.
Oh, I faked it to try to get my passport back, but like, he was like, "You don't mean that," and like going crazy on the street.
Wow. That's a really confronting
Yeah.
situation.
So did you get your passport back or did you have to go to the cops?
I did get it back eventually, but it was a very like well thought out plan by like the assistant of the stylist on a photo shoot that I had a breakdown on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the stylist was like, "I don't feel comfortable letting you go home by yourself. You're going home with my assistant stylist," who was 17 at the time.
Oh, my God.
It's like all you babies running around. Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. I went to her house. It was like full on Gossip Girl vibes. Like it was her
really?
parents' house. She'd invited all of her like 17-year-old friends, and they're like all having like fancy cocktails or just sitting there. They're like, "Tell us about it." I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then they all came up with this elaborate plan to get my passport back, and then we walked down to the bar to like make the plan happen, and we actually got it back. It was crazy.
Awesome.
Caitlin and the little bossy.
Right?
That's
Oh,
so
great.
cool.
Yeah. It's really cool.
That is very cool.
Excellent.
So
It didn't totally stop there though. He got my parents' phone numbers, and we all received some pretty hectic messages for 2 years after that, even when I was back in Australia.
for 2 years afterwards.
Yeah.
That's a persistent stalker.
Oh yeah, iPhone introducing the like block number thing on your phone was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because before that, you used to have to, because I looked into it, you used to have to file like a massive police report thing to your provider, and then they'll assess it, and it can take up to like 4 months or something. But because all the police reports I had were all American, the Australian providers wouldn't accept them. So yeah, it was pretty wild.
Wow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Have you got some stories about some of the models that you worked with? I mean, you don't have to tell us any names or anything, but you know, some of the models that you looked at and who were doing some pretty crazy things or living some pretty crazy lifestyle.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think, I don't know, we all end up kind of like supporting each other. So it's like, it's all just normal at that point. You don't really think about how weird it all is. I remember just sitting there actually at Louis Vuitton show at the fittings for it. I was seeing the naked, like, just like waiting for my turn. I think I was just like,
because that's what models
had my
do.
G-string on.
Sit around, pretty much naked, waiting for fittings and to be dressed.
Pretty much. And it was like me and another Australian girl who I knew quite well, actually from Perth as well, and we're just sitting there. And then next minute, all of these people rushed in and they're like, she's here. And we're like, who's here? And next minute, Kate Moss walks in. And Kate Moss is then also in her G-string with us. And it was just like, we're doing the same exact thing. It's Kate Moss right now. What the hell?
Did you talk to her?
No. I was like, I don't know, like, what do you even say at that moment? Like,
How you going?
G-string.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Where
So
do you find the
awesome.
similarities?
Yeah. How funny.
So weird.
That's cute.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Is she
was
gorgeous?
really
Is she
cool.
gorgeous in real life?
Yeah, she's really pretty. I didn't actually realize how old she was. So when I looked that up later, I was like, oh, wow, what? Like,
Yeah, she's like nearly our age.
She's had great longevity in the biz, hasn't she?
yeah, definitely.
Good on her.
Yeah, man.
What a life.
So crazy
So
as well.
you met Carl
did.
Lagerfeld.
It's
and,
that
walked
great
for Chanel.
photo. With
It's a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
That photo is so special to me because that was my first Chanel show, and I was sitting there actually with another group of Australian models, and we saw him coming up, and I was like, oh, do you want me to take a picture? And my friend was like, no, we can't ask Carl to take a picture. And I was like, this could be the only time we ever get to do this. Like, fuck it, why not? Let's just ask. And I was like, I will ask, and can you take the photo? She's like, yeah. And then I got the photo. There's a little bit of jealousy after that.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
it didn't, I mean, I did 6 or 7 Chanel shows after that. So I don't know, I think
got some shows.
yeah,
Like,
like,
he liked your courage and your
vibe.
your vibe. Yeah.
I genuinely think he actually appreciated it, because I do reckon if your life is surrounded by people who are all fake and stuff, like as soon as someone just talks to you normally, you're like, yeah, okay, I can vibe with this.
Yeah, you're right. If you're living in a surreal world, it must be really difficult just to have normal conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or to know that questions are genuine.
Yeah,
That
if
it's
someone,
not.
if they're interested or if they like want something from you.
Yeah, or is it just because it's Chanel?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you worked for quite a few shows. Did you meet the designers, or did you get chance with the designers of other shows? Or did you with Carl?
I have a picture of Donatella Versace as well. I don't think I got pictures with any of the other designers. No, I think the rest of it was pretty hectic.
Yeah. Were you right into the fashion itself?
I did study fashion design for like 2 semesters at school. So like, I don't know, I felt like I really wanted to be interested in it, but I really wasn't. If I'm being completely honest.
If you do it for long enough, then maybe you get interested.
Right?
Well, see, I love the fashion, right? But I hate fashion runway shows. It's
They're
so
actually
boring. Doing the fashion
so
festival, I was like,
boring.
So,
I
how
loved
do we
it
make
for
it
everybody,
cool and
but I'm just
fun?
like, I don't watch them. I'll watch the ones that are interesting, like it. You know,
Yeah.
I know a young designer or someone's, but I'm like,
Yeah. I'm like, when I see all those reports of like, oh, everyone was on their phones, I was like, I would be too. Like,
Yeah.
Even if the show was great, I'd probably still be like,
because I think I'd rather be
Like,
at a party
that's
looking at
cool.
all the fashion, you know.
yeah.
Oh, what's that?
So,
I like that.
so what point, when did you sort of go, nah, that's it, I'm out of here?
Actually, man, there's so many like hectic stuff in my life that just totally changes the whole direction of it. But my best friend at the time randomly died of a heart attack, and I took a month off, and then the first day back, everyone I got like heaps of request castings, and you don't normally get like a whole day of request castings. That's insane. But I went to them and I realized that none of them were requesting me for me. They just wanted to know what had happened to my friend Alex. And I just spent the whole day in tears, and I was just like, I'm done. And I literally did not model again, except for my friend Keith for his salon. But like other than that, I didn't do any modeling after that. Yeah.
So what did you do?
I went and worked at a JB Hi-Fi.
Oh, I love that.
Well done.
It was cool. So I'd started studying IT at the time online, and I was just working at JB part-time and studying, and then I don't know, I'm a very competitive person, and I was just on the counter, I saw the sales guys were getting like high fives and stuff for selling warranties, so I was like, how do I sell warranties? And then I sold like more warranties than everyone else in the store combined, and then my boss was like, do you want to try sales? I was like, yeah, let's do sales. And then I had such a good manager at that store, and he kind of trained me up, and then I got pretty good at that, and then it was kind of like, hey, have you thought about going into management? So I did that for a bit. I think I was actually at JB like way longer than I remember. Like I think I was there for 3 or 4 years. But while I was at JB going up the manager ranks, I was still doing all like my coding and stuff on the side.
Yeah.
I didn't end up finishing my IT degree because, actually JB pays very well considering, and it meant that I could do all like my coding stuff for fun. But yeah, it kind of got to a point where I was like, oh, this isn't fulfilling me. And then a job came up that was like a producer at this VR studio in Sydney, and I was like, oh my god, that's like my three things: managing, dev, and art. Not that I'm not good at art at all, but like I'm good at processes, and I know art workflows really well, even though I'd never really done them before at this point. So I went for it and I got it, and then that was kind of how this career blossomed.
Yeah.
What a segue from modelling to IT. That's just amazing. And basically, like I say, you went back in a circle and you went back to what your first love was.
Right? I feel like I need to make Mr. Wormy now after.
Yeah, you do.
doing it like that.
Yeah. That is so true. God.
Wow. So you've got this job in the VR place.
Yeah.
Sorry, virtual reality. In case people don't know, there's some older viewers who are going, "What's a VR?"
This is where we're going to have to explain.
Yeah. So you're
It's
doing
just
that, and you're coding, you're programming, you're coding. What are you doing, or are you overseeing other people doing it and making it work?
Yeah, so I was mostly like managing the team and producing the actual projects and working with the clients and the stakeholders and stuff like that. But I was still doing my own dev stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And then if I had free time at work, I'd get into the projects and like see how the real devs were doing it and learn a bit from
So you had the best of both worlds going. You're feeding your own soul with what you loved, as well as having all that access.
Much. It was so good.
Excellent.
People shouldn't give me access to projects. I just rip them apart and learn everything about them.
So that's in Sydney.
Yeah, that was in Sydney.
Yeah.
And then I left there and I went freelance. I was just working for a bunch of other studios.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. And then it ended up back here. I was actually here for someone's birthday that weekend that McGowan was like, we're going to close the borders.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I kind of had to make a split decision of like, if I go back now, I could be stuck there. Or like after living away from mum and dad for so long, I was like, I don't really want to be separated from mum and dad for that long after I've just, properly got back into Australia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made a split decision, flew back for 24 hours, cleared out my whole house. I'm not impulsive or anything.
Yeah. No one would suggest that, would they?
No.
24 hours.
Picked up my dog, came back, and yeah,
That
it was good.
it.
Opened my studio and built a house, and now I'm here for a bit
No,
longer.
good. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Can I ask, right? What is SIGGRAPH Asia's real-time life? So is that the first thing that you're working on? Is that your first VR job?
No.
Or is that something else you're doing now or have done? What I don't understand. This is
That's all right.
head. So I'm trying to figure it all out.
So the SIGGRAPH Asia thing that I worked on, it was with Mod Studios, and it was one of the contracts I did after I left the VR studio. And yeah, that was so special to me because I'd never touched virtual production type stuff before, and now it's like literally just how movies are made. It's so cool. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
so I met like a bunch of people who were doing it from the start. Michaela, one of the owners of Mod, like she's amazing. I've actually got her coming over for WA Games Week because she's just like so inspiring.
Wow.
She's a dev herself and just runs these like insane projects. And her and her partner Mish, they heard me speak on a panel. It was at the Women in AR and VR meetup in Sydney at the Facebook building, and like I think I was a little unhinged on the panel, to be honest. I got pulled on there last minute.
You're funny.
I wasn't on the program or anything, and then I just talked a lot. And I think a lot of people would think that's weird, but they were like, "You come work for us." So
Excellent.
That was really cool.
They got you.
Clearly you weren't
Yeah.
that unhinged.
Yeah,
You make
I got
sense.
out of
So you're
the
unemployable.
errands.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So let's talk then. Let's get back to women in the whole tech area. You're very passionate about it. And as you say, for you as a teenager, the options, the opportunities weren't there.
Yeah.
It is changing now. How do you see all this? What do you think? And particularly, I suppose, for regional areas, there's not a lot there, is there?
No, it's weird because it's changing in the way that everyone's becoming more aware of the problem, but I don't see a lot actually being done to make it more accessible. And the crazy thing is, like, I mean, I push for the women's stuff because I do feel women have it harder in this area. I mean, I found out that there was all these LAN parties happening when I grew up in Bunbury. No one told me about that.
Oh, yeah, the LAN
What were
parties.
they? LAN parties?
LAN parties?
LAN parties.
Where heaps of people come with their computers and play games all together.
Oh.
Campbell used to go to a few of them, yeah.
I've
LAN
never
parties.
heard of them.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
never heard of them.
Mostly they were boys.
Exactly. No one
Okay,
told
so
me.
it
I would have
is.
loved to have gone to that stuff.
So it's not a traditional female area again. So women once more are having to etch out opportunities for themselves.
Yeah. And it's this is kind of why I love being a lot in the XR, extended reality, like VR and AR.
Thank you for explaining that.
This is a new, like, yes, it's still tech, but this actual section of it's so new. We're not trying to, like, pull down the patriarchy while also making a name for ourselves. When I went to Augmented World Expo in San Fran a few years ago, the majority of founders for these companies were all female, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even that women in AR and VR meetup that I mentioned just before, half of the audience is men, and they go to listen to the females, and I love that. Like, I think we don't necessarily talk about women in AR and VR at the Women in AR VR meetup. It was just like a showcase of all the stuff and just talking and skills and sharing, and the guys were coming to
because it's
learn from
interesting
us.
and it's knowledgeable and they are getting something from it
Exactly.
because you're just talking.
Exactly. And we were just like on the same level, and it's lovely.
So you want to? So how are you going to make it more accessible for women? What would you like to see done? Like, there's no pathways, and you want women to have more access to it. What's the solution, or not the solution? What's your idea? What do you think?
I mean, there's a few things. I think, like, even holding things like the Women Game Jam and giving a space where it's like I vetted every dude that wanted to help because honestly, we should be using guys to our advantage. That sounds really terrible, but like they do have more experience and knowledge in a lot of areas, and if they're willing to share it with us, we should absolutely say yes to them. So like, just creating spaces like that where it is comfortable to learn and you can just try things and you can get it
is
wrong.
so fun.
Yeah, you liked it?
It was so fun.
So let's just recap then, Caitlin, what you did with that, just so that people are aware what you specifically set up to get women to come together.
So, oh my God, it wasn't even last year, it was the year before now. That's crazy.
It's gone so quick.
I know. Some people kept posting, like, join the Women Game Jam, register here, and they only had venues in Sydney and Melbourne and maybe Brisbane. And I just, like, on a whim, they had an online component as well, but I sent them a message being like, hey, like, got this little studio in Bunbury, I can have this many people in there. I think I can probably get enough sponsors to run it all myself, but we'll use all your branding and your structure and join your Discord and stuff. Let me know if you want me to be part of it. And didn't hear back from them until like 6 weeks before the actual event. They were like, yes. And I was like, oh no.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
Thanks for the heads up, peeps.
It was crazy. So, yeah, then we had a 2.5, 3 day a game. I might explain what a game jam is just in case. So
yeah, good idea.
A game jam's usually 48 hours. At the start of the 48 hours, you get a theme, and it's usually groups of people that have never met before, or just you come by yourself, make teams there, and then you come up with a game that relates to the theme, you build that game, and then you present it.
Yeah.
And there are like prizes and stuff for some of them, but we didn't have any prizes. It was just like a learn things.
You had a lot of lollipops.
We had a lot of lollipops
So,
and fidget toys.
so Sid went along. And
I went because my friend was like, hey, you want to go to this thing with me? And then I went, and it was so fun. We made like this really scuffed horror game.
It was cool though. We did the 3D
I made a
scanning and
haiku
stuff.
at the end when you died. I was so proud of that.
Yeah, right.
And then I got on the news because of it.
Oh, okay. So it's like
say
the news
that.
coverage.
Yep.
Love that.
Is that what it
So
takes, though? More awareness that it's all there, it's all going on, but in many ways, people are just unaware of the potential of it, are unaware of the opportunities that need to be created.
They're not sure how to help, I think. And it's been like a hard thing of like people don't know what they don't know, but they also don't want to know.
Yeah.
So it's like I have so many conversations with people who are like, I want to support women in tech. How do I do that? And we're like, oh, well, if you do this, you get this outcome, and this will support these people, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, I don't really understand that, and go on with their day. And it's like,
Yeah.
in that time, I just explained it to you. We could have actually done something about it. And, like, I think that's the bit that frustrates me most is, like, a lot of people say that they want to do it, and they'll use people who literally are in that position to explain to them and use their time and not value their input.
Yeah.
And that's the
this
frustrating
is it.
bit.
It's the value, isn't it? You've got to value the knowledge that you've built up and value the kids wanting to learn it. And particularly the young women who just want to be taken as seriously as guys would.
Exactly.
Do you think mentors plays a big role in this as well? Because the more that you see females in positions that can act as mentors, the more you're going to have
Yeah,
the girls coming in, isn't it?
definitely. 100%. Like, mentors have literally got me through my whole tech career so far. Is like people reaching out and being like, hey, I want to help you. The hard thing is, especially in a regional town, is like you can only help so many people without burning yourself out, and it sucks as someone that wants to help everyone. But yeah, I'm organising WA Games Week this year to kind of help with that, flying in a bunch of my contacts from over east so that more people can help a little bit and build some networks. And
So is that a new thing?
yeah,
It's brand new. You're
Brand
starting,
new.
and that will be in Perth or Bunbury?
in Perth.
Wow.
Yeah,
WA Games Week.
yeah, it's been
week.
wild.
A week, Sydney.
Well.
Yeah, we're even organising online live streaming component because I was like, I'm not doing something in Perth, and people from down here won't also benefit. Like,
Yeah, good on you.
got to reach everyone.
Yeah.
And surely that has to be the benefit too of the tech area, in that the ability to access wherever you are.
Yeah, it's so funny getting on calls with these companies that I'm flying in because I'm like, we'll look after all your streaming and stuff, and you just rock up and they're like, well, we've got a platform as well. Why don't we use this? And it's like, oh, interesting. And everyone's got their own little things, and everyone wants to showcase stuff. So you find a way to make it work for everyone.
That's great. Do you have dates?
The 17th to 23rd of September.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Brilliant.
Cool.
Wait,
I
let
love
me
it.
write that down.
Yeah. 17th to the 23rd of September.
So tell us about some of the challenges in moving back to well, it's not your hometown of Bunbury, but you spent a significant
Pretty
part of
much.
your childhood here.
Bit I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of the challenges? Well, specifically, I suppose, coming to more of a regional area where,
Yeah, the regional part of it, I felt very disconnected, but it was kind of, it didn't really kick in until after COVID had loosened up a bit, because when everyone was in lockdown, you don't really get FOMO as such.
yeah.
But yeah, finding other people to talk to about certain things was like really difficult. Then I found like the Maker group and like
Yeah,
found people
Finding
that had,
peeps.
yeah, because I think like finding and making friends as an adult is so much harder as well.
And the Makers is really good. I've been to a couple of them, and there's a lot of different people there. And some people don't interact as much, and some people do. Some go all the time. And it's just a nice flow of being tech people being able to interact, which I guess they do online a lot more than they do in real life. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see that. And have you been to a Makers?
No.
Oh, you should
I
come
think-
with me next time.
What is it?
We sit around and just play with electronics or make games or just
No,
like
I wouldn't
At the
go to
library.
that.
3D print.
Yeah, they go to the library now, isn't it?
Yeah, at the library.
Yeah.
And is
I
there
wanna
one
go.
on a
Yeah.
Wednesday? What's the Wednesday one?
That is computer club, which I also go to.
I just know there's a few clubs out there for and they're
club
both
once.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There's a hacker club here.
No, it was at school.
Oh god.
Wouldn't
It
that
was
be
like
cool?
ethical
my
hackers
goodness,
club,
ethical
and
hackers.
I had no idea what was going on.
So I suppose maybe it's really important to reach out and within your own communities or towns or cities or wherever,
Yeah.
and try and find those like-minded people who might be interested, even if there's only a couple of you,
Yeah.
but interested in sitting down and having a chat.
You also don't realize how many people are out there until you start asking around. Yeah. Because even from just being heaps vocal about what I'm doing down here, other people have reached out.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one guy who actually, I think someone might have dragged him along to like a women in tech talk that I was talking at, because he didn't look like he was very happy to be there. But as soon as he found out that I was doing game development, then he sent me an email. He found my email address and was like, I was at your talk. And I was like, I know exactly who you are. He was actually super nice. And like him and his son are building all these tools for game developers, and they're actually like pretty good, and they sell them. And I was like, I just wouldn't have known that person existed unless I was out there being like, I do this thing.
Yes.
Which is weird because you feel kind of full of yourself by doing it, but also if you just, I don't know, being an adult's weird.
How are you supposed to find your people if you don't talk about it, isn't it? So,
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to shout it from the rooftops, even if it's just a few rooftops
Yeah.
that shout back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
exactly right.
Excellent. And tech is just growing and growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's finding your peeps, isn't it?
It really
the people
is.
that you resonate with.
Yeah. Finding the people that like lift you up.
Lift you up.
So let's just talk a little bit about your own personal journey. So clearly through the modelling era, your mental health, like, you know, you would have had a few challenges there, and then you had a diagnosis as well with your AD.
Yeah.
And that was quite later in life as well. Do you mind talking a little bit about all that aspect of it?
Yeah, that was actually, it was such a weird time for me. It was when I moved back here. I've always had days where like I just can't do the thing that I want to do. Like I've called mum from the car so many times being like, everything's just hard, and I can't explain what it is, but there's just like a mental block between me wanting to do something and actually doing the thing. And then one day I had that so bad, and I was like pushing through, but I couldn't even read a spreadsheet on the computer, and like everything was jumbling up for me. And it just kind of got worse and worse over a couple of days. I was like, can you get dyslexia as an adult? Like, is that what's happening to me? And then scrolling through TikTok, just like all these ADHD videos start popping up, and it was like, explained how like symptoms get worse when you're more stressed. I just moved back in with mum and dad. I love them, but we shouldn't live together. So, you know.
Okay, so tick that off.
Yeah. So I was like, and just COVID in general was stressful for everyone.
Yeah,
so
it was.
I didn't really maybe acknowledge how stressed I was at the time.
Yeah.
So that was kicking things into overdrive, and then started learning what the actual symptoms are. And I was like, wait, so other people don't have that? They don't have that thing where they just can't do the thing? And then the dyslexia stuff is like a common thing when you're neurodivergent. It's not dyslexia, but it's like a symptom of that. And yeah, I went and secretly got tested, and then I remember coming home to mum and dad and being like, so I have ADHD, and neither of them knew what to do with that, because I was just like, what? And I think being someone who has had success in their life, people really put ADHD in that box of like, oh, you must not be successful, like you must be lazy, you must
or
like,
not be able to
bad
function,
socialising.
as you say, to be successful.
Exactly.
But that's clearly not the case.
I mean, my impulsiveness from my ADHD has been great so far, so I'm not complaining at all. But yeah, there's like a lot of things, and then the journey to like working out who you really are has just been so crazy, because as a woman especially, we're kind of like put into this mode of like, you know, be a lady, like still like do that, act a certain way. And we do this thing called masking where we use so much of our mental energy to like appear normal and do the normal things. As soon as I started learning and going to therapy about like breaking down those layers, I actually had like really bad skill regression. There's like a lot of things that I'm finding I'm actually really bad at now that I used to be really good at, but things that I used to struggle with, or just starting things in general, like I'm getting a lot better at, because I'm not putting so much pressure on myself to like do that thing. Like,
and that's exhausting, isn't it? As you say, when you are doing that masking, it's just so exhausting for you, day in, day out.
It's so crazy.
It's interesting you talk about sort of all those gender, the stereotypes of how women are supposed to act and how they are supposed to, you know, mix with other people. Yeah. And it's nice to know now, I think, that women are actually starting to come into their own to say, well, actually, hang on a minute, that doesn't quite suit me. Like, that's not me.
Yeah. Even ADHD specifically, all of the tests that they did up until maybe 10 years ago were done on guys. And it presents so differently in a woman. So there's like all these women getting diagnosed now because they finally understand how it presents in women.
I'm seeing that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And it would explain things. Do you go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, that explains that thing about me for sure.
That's really interesting, all that. It's not.
Yes.
And it does. And back, I think, to finding like-minded people and women, just supporting women in general as well. I mean, you're so lucky you come from a family environment where you've got some awesome, strong women around you, haven't you?
Yeah. Like, I know I've mentioned Mum already, but like even my sister, she's my rock. I couldn't live without her.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And that makes it
beautiful.
I think it helps, doesn't it?
You need to have cheerleaders around you, because sometimes it's hard to cheer for yourself. I mean, who does cheer for themselves? I mean, but it's really nice, and if you've got it in your immediate family, it's perfect. Yeah. It makes you a stronger person. It makes you, I don't know. I didn't have that, but I think, you know, if you're coming from a solid family base, you know, you can, you know, I just feel that I don't know, I'm just saying, you probably feel protected and like you can do anything because you've got a strong family and they're going to support you and they're your cheerleaders.
Yeah.
So where do we see Caitlin in 5 years, 10 years? If it could all like magically fall into place, where do you see yourself and what are you doing?
I'll probably have some sort of computer chip living in some virtual world or something.
Okay, so you just propped in the corner over there.
Living the dream.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be amazing. I'll make the world myself and it'll be exactly how I want it. No, I've at the moment I'm working on moving out to the game with SMG, and I'm also working on my studio's first own IP, original IP.
What does that mean? You have to explain to everyone. Original IP.
So it's a game that we came up with ourselves and we've created it from scratch. We haven't used IP and it's not client work.
Intellectual property.
Yeah.
Okay. Intellectual property.
Right. Thank you. Yes.
And we've had some really good feedback from some publishers and stuff recently. So we're going to push that. And then we also have another game that we want to build as well.
Mr. Wormy.
Yeah. Another one on that one. So, yeah, I think, I don't know, probably running some game studios somewhere and making cool shit.
And hosting lots of women in tech things or tech things because the women are already involved in
Exactly.
You know?
That'd be ideal.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I really love that. Caitlin, so good to have you in, having a chat with us today. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
But let's finish up with, do you have a particular quote, or is there something that you think women need to hear at least once in their life?
Don't take no for an answer, because as women you're definitely going to hear no a lot. You're going to hit glass walls all the time. I think our brains do this beautiful thing where we find creative solutions to stuff, but you know, imposter syndrome gets the best of us, and sometimes we don't push through. Like, believe in yourself and do it, because you are probably right, and if you're not right, surround yourself with people who will catch you and push you back up there and try again.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
Ooh, Caitlin.
Good stuff.
Now, if you have been affected by any of the topics discussed in this conversation, please visit the support links below, and we will have more show information below as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
And always remember,
Every day.
You are remarkable.